Alright, guys. Back from the dead here for another episode of the Dropout Book Club. I know we've been gone for a little while. We're back. We're ready to make it happen. And today, the next book we're going to cover is Mentors by Russell Brand. We're going to do things a little different this time around. Instead of doing the whole book at once, I think it'll be easier and more effective to do it piece by piece as we read through. So today we're going to do the first chapter. We're going to go from the introduction all the way through chapter 4 of Russell Brand's book. And there's 13 chapters plus a conclusion plus some extra stuff at the end. It's a short book, so we should power through it pretty fast. Guys, quick, if you haven't done it yet, hit the subscribe button, click the little bell for notifications so you can see when we're coming out with new breakdowns of different books. Also, leave a comment below. Let us know what you like best. I'd like to make this good for you guys. Let me turn out a good product that you guys like, and let us all learn together. That's the whole purpose of this in the first place. All right, so to get right into it, Mentors by Russell Brand, How to Help and Be Helped. And it really is truly both edges of the swords, both how to be a good mentor and how to be a good mentee. And I think both are very important. A wise man once said, I can't remember who said it, but it was the rule of 33. They said 33% of your time should be with people who are not to your level, whatever that may be, whether it be academically, through sports, through business, financially, whatever it may be. 33% of your time should be helping those people. 33% of the time should be with people that are on your level, and 33% of your time should be spent with people who are where you want to be. In the intro, he kind of talks about a little bit of his story, how he came to write this book, really. That's what the intro is about. A couple of really good quotes from the intro on page 7, the very beginning, when he says, when I hear Cox, he's talking about Brian Cox, who's a physicist. When I hear Cox speaking of Carl Sagan, however, the giant star of astronomy who inspired the then adolescent scientist, I feel held between awe and hope. Sagan was a mentor to Cox. Although they never met, Sagan functioned as a mental symbol, a target, a role model that the younger man could emulate on his own journey to greatness. Now, I think that's very important. When you read these books, you gotta really try to wring them dry, and that's what we're doing here. We're gonna squeeze all the little nuggets out of this book that we can, and with all the other books that we're reading. So, what's so important about that? The important part that I find is that he never met Carl Sagan. He only listened to his works, his speeches, and read his books, and he found that he got inspired by Carl Sagan. And what's inspiration? He actually talks about that later on when he saw Bill Cox for the first time, when he saw Bill Hicks for the first time. He was inspired. He said he put breath into him, and breath is life. And that's what inspiration is. It's a feeling, it's a sense of energy towards a purpose, towards an end goal, something that we get when we have something that we want to accomplish, and we know that it's possible because there's somebody who has done it before we did. So that's what inspiration is, and that's what I believe is one part of having a mentor. Whether you know them or not, whether you've ever met them or not, you could learn lessons from almost anybody. And I believe it's important to have somebody there to seek guidance from, whether it be directly or indirectly, whether you're talking to that person, whether you're communicating, or you're reading their works, or you're watching their YouTube videos, whatever it may be. I find it extremely important to have guidance along the path to whatever it is you're looking to accomplish. So another quote from page 7, he says, a hero is an emblem that demonstrates the possibility of inner drives becoming manifest. And another quote from page 8 that I really liked, he says, greatness looks like madness until it's found it's context. So why is that important? That, I believe, is crucial because you're going to have people along the way tell you you're crazy for getting out and seeking the goal that you're looking to accomplish. That's what you're going to hear. No, you shouldn't do that. You need to go to college. You need to get this degree, whatever it may be. If you want to go and do anything, there's always going to be naysayers along the way. Chapter 1, he talks about him as a boy, which is such a good chapter because it talks about things that we all go through. For instance, he talks about his heroes, some of his heroes being exposed for some of the bad things they've done. He talks about, for instance, he says, Malcolm X was a rent boy. Gandhi had some odd nocturnal habits, and even Che, the obligatory teen portal into rebellious sentience, was a homophobic murderer. Too much information. And that's the truth, is there's a lot of people that we look up to and then we find something bad that they've done, especially in our culture today, and it erases their overall character of the good that they have done. So I challenge you, next time you find out that somebody has done something bad, don't put that on a pedestal. Compare that side by side with their character, with the things that they've accomplished, and see if it outweighs that. And if it does, then, maybe you need to look for guidance somewhere else. These are very short chapters, by the way. Chapter 2, he talks about his first actual mentor. And it was when he went to rehab. And he talks about him in a very new way. It was new for him because his mentors in the past were kids that he looked up to, but he didn't realize those kids were looking up to celebrities and they were as lost as he was. So on page 23, he says, I recognize that they have something I want, and they have achieved something that I haven't, that I am, in the moment I sit before them, I am insufficient, and for that transfer of energy or education to take place, I must be mentally and spiritually prepared. And then he says, this is as true for a yoga class as it is for a Spanish lesson or therapy. And you should be able to use these principles in all areas of your life, any area where you want to improve. And the fact is, we should all be seeking to improve day in and day out. Make every day a purposeful day. And he talks a little bit about his first mentor, Chip, who was there just to really listen. He was his sponsor. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. We're going to go to chapter 3. And Russell Brand talks about his divorce. I'm assuming he's talking about his divorce from Katy Perry. I'm kind of pop culturally illiterate in some sense, but I knew he was married to Katy Perry. And so he talks about his divorce and going through that. And he went to an acupuncturist. And he said he always went to this acupuncturist, and she was a very sweet lady, and he could talk to her. And so he talks about how he was going through this troubling time. And he says, I must have told her of my plan to cope with the pain of divorce by having sex with lots of people, because she said, what does it mean then? All this meditation, this program, this faith in God, if as soon as there is a problem in your life, you turn to sex. Well, what it means is that the meditation, program, and faith in God are all phony, hollow practices, phatic chants and empty dances that I carry out when the going is good, basically just for their aesthetic value. But when pain comes, and pain is always coming, key line there, always coming, there's always a struggle. And whether you're going through it, you may be going through a good time in your life, and that's great. Bask in that. Stay there. Don't necessarily stay there. Always seek to get out of your comfort zone. But what I'm trying to say is, whether you're going through it, there's somebody who's going through it, whether it be a family member or a friend. Somebody else is going through the pain within your immediate circle, and it's coming right around the corner for you. So there's two ways to approach that. You can either curl up into a ball, become nihilistic, and say it's all for naught anyways because there's always pain coming, or you could harden yourself to the pain. But anyways, back to the book. I will abruptly turn like a good little soldier to a materialistic solution to a spiritual problem. It means that my true religion is materialism. My true God is the ego. And what I really mean when I say I want to be enlightened is I want to feel nice. It wasn't necessary for me to say this, and I didn't, but the question had revealed the hidden truth that I still found it hard to live a spiritual life, particularly when threatened. And that is when you need the spiritual life the most. And I find that true. I find that as true as anything. I do read a lot of self-help books along with the other books that I read. I believe this is as much a self-help book as any. But positive thinking is very important in somebody's life. It's great to be a positive thinker, but when do you need it most? You don't need, it's not hard to be positive when everything's going well. When the things in your life are falling apart around you and the earth below you is crumbling under your feet, it feels, that's when it's hardest to be positive, to look for the silver lining, to stay disciplined in the face of chaos. That's when it's hardest. And I feel like we must all strengthen ourselves to the chaos that is approaching in our life or is already here. And I feel like this is a great line about having a higher moral purpose. I think we all need a higher moral purpose. I just read The Right Side of History by Ben Shapiro. And he talks about being one of the 4 major frameworks of Western civilization. Great book. I'll cover it one day. But a higher moral purpose, an individual moral purpose, something to guide you, a star that you're shooting for, that will keep you in line. It'll keep you, let's say, from straying off the path, from straying off the war path. It'll keep you plodding along through the muck and the mud and allow you to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. I feel like it's very important, and I think it's important, like Russell Brand did here, to take stock of our lives and where we are all falling short. Moving on, so he talks about her for a little bit, and then he talks about relationships, and I'm not going to get into it. Great book. You should read it yourself. But chapter 4, he talks about relationships, and he has a small section in which he talks about, because I have a program of recovery, I recognize that I must, when in crisis, and he paraphrases the first 3 steps of the 12-step program. He says, 1, I must acknowledge it. 2, I must believe I can improve it. 3, I have to ask for help. And I think that's a vital 3 points. Reason being is because if you are not achieving the goals that you want to achieve, it's because you can do it. That's number 1. Number 2, acknowledge it. Acknowledge there's a problem. Don't go blindly into the world like you did yesterday, when yesterday was a fail. Secondly, believe you can improve it. Believe it can be improved, because it can be. Situations can always be better. 3, ask for help, and that's the key one there, because whether it be personally reaching out or, like I said, reading a book like this, asking for help is admitting ignorance in an area of your life where you feel like you can do whatever it may be. Say you want to get an A in your chemistry class, but you just can't figure it out and you keep getting a C+. Obviously, on your own, you're ignorant to what it takes to accomplish that goal. Reach out to that honor student in your class. Reach out to that person who's getting the good grade. Ask for help. It's a humbling experience, but it takes a truly confident individual to say, hey, I am not able to do this. Can you help me? That shows growth. It shows maturity. poise, and it's checking your ego at the door. So that is all we're going to talk about for today. I'm in chapter 5 right now. If you'd like to read the book along with me, I'm going to leave a link to the book where you can get it off of Amazon. Like I said, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when the next one is coming out. Hopefully we're only going to do this, I think, one video partly through the book is going to be more effective. I think we're going to be able to follow this along a lot better. And to be honest, guys, I just had a baby, so the time that I could find to make these videos is really short and sweet. So I think it's going to be effective. And if you have any tips, you have any suggestions, if you have a comment on a book that you'd like us to read, leave it in the comments below. I'd be happy to look at what you're saying and adjust accordingly. Hey, I'm just like you guys. I need to ask for help just like the other person. But I really appreciate you listening to this. I hope it helped you today. And, whether you're a dropout or an MD or you have an MBA, whatever it may be, you could always continue to learn and grow. And I'm just glad that I could be along the journey with you guys for your growth and for my own. Have a great day. Thanks again.